So GTV, let's know when you're ready. Okay, so colleagues, good evening. Thank you for joining us here at the Ministry of Information for this week's midweek brief. I want to start by acknowledging a number of persons who are here with us and who will be supporting the brief on COVID-19 as we'll deliver this evening. Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boajes, Director General, Ghana Health Service, has been with us from the beginning. Dr. Bedu Sarkodie is the Director of Public Health, Ghana Health Service. Dr. Da Costa Boajes is Director of Health Promotion at the Ghana Health Service. Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bequin, Deputy Director of Public Health, Ghana Health Service. The Deputy Controller General in charge of operations and command posts of the Ghana Immigration Service, Mr. Lord Ofori Efrifa, will also support us in this evening's brief. I have the privilege of welcoming the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Haji Ali Mahama, who would support us in this brief, and the Honourable Minister for Transport, the Honourable Kweku Esiama, who is also with us this evening. I'm informed that this evening's brief is live on a number of platforms, City TV, News, GTV, on the Ministry of Information's Facebook page, and live on a number of radio stations. We will start off with an update on case count, case management, and contact tracing. That will be given to us by Dr. Bedu Sarkodie. There you are. That's Dr. Bedu Sarkodie. Then we will take an update on the enforcement of the travel advisory, which kicked in at 1 p.m. GMT yesterday. But implementation, we started on a soft discretion basis prior to that. And that will be given to us by the Ghana Immigration Service. Then we'll give you an update on the new legislation that government is laying before Parliament and the executive instrument that is being promulgated. The local government minister will give us an update on the local government actions that have taken place so far, particularly what is going on in markets, as the markets are superintended by the various MMDCs. And then the transport minister will give us an update on some of the directives that they've had to work the transport unions to implement so far. And then after that, we'll share with you some general notes before we take your questions. Please join me to welcome up to the podium Dr. Bedu Sarkodie for an update on case count, case management, and contact tracing.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Good morning, all. Good evening. As of this evening, the 18th of March, 2020, the case count remains 7. All 7 cases are being managed in isolation, and all are in stable condition. We are conducting the contact tracing. The contacts have risen to 381. None of the contacts yet have been confirmed as suspected case, and all of them are being followed up and are doing well. It seems that this is the contact for the first 6 cases that were detected. The single case that was seen yesterday added to 7. The contact traces have gone out. They are yet to come back to enable us to receive their report. So by close of today, I believe the total number of contacts that are being followed would increase. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that quick update on case count, case management, and contact tracing. He will join me later to respond to any further questions that may concern his area. May I remind you that the website address that will give regular updates every 6 hours, should there be a change, it will be ghanahealthservice.org/COVID-19/. And we would like to applaud our colleagues in the media for working with us in consonance with the protocols that we laid out for reporting on case management and contact tracing. I want to invite the Ghana Immigration Service to explain to us, to formally give an update to the country on the enforcement of the travel restrictions or the travel advisory that was issued earlier this week. Mr. Lord of Oforiafi, please join me. Deputy Controller General in charge of operations and command. The travel restrictions were to kick in at 1 p.m. GMT yesterday. What is the story so far, sir?
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and good evening to everybody. Yes, Honorable Minister, from our point, the directive given by His Excellency the President kicked in at 1 p.m. yesterday. What we have done so far is advise all our controls to enforce the ban strictly. That all persons traveling from countries that have recorded 200 cases and over are to be refused entry, and that is what we are doing. We are only admitting foreigners coming back or returning who have resident permits. And even that, their details are being taken and being shared with the Ghana Health Service response team. So far, as of yesterday, on the 16th March, we refused 2 Italians entry who were traveling in on Air France. In fact, we did not allow them to disembark because we normally have the travel advice from the airlines. We screen it, see who is on board before they come. So the 2 Italians were noted on the Air France flight, and the team went in, the joint team of the Ghana Immigration Service, Port Health authorities went on board and explained the situation to them, and they were refused and they were not allowed to come back. They returned with the flight. Yesterday, 17th of March, 24 Chinese were refused entry, and also 1 German, also under the same circumstances, with a kick-in of travel ban at 1 p.m. This morning, there is an incident in Abidjan. The airport is closed due to an incident in the tarmac. So flights were being diverted to Ghana. In consultation with the civil aviation, all those flights were refused landing and sent back. 1 Ethiopian airline flight that landed without permission. The passengers were not allowed to disembark. They were refueled and they continued on their journey. The statistics that we have indicate that there has been a drastic drop in passenger inflow, especially on the major airlines. So for yesterday, for instance, British Airways, which would normally be about 350 passengers, brought in 140. KLM would normally bring in about 450 daily, brought in 128. Air Portugal, which would normally bring in about 150, brought in 12. Kenya Airways, which would normally bring in about 120, brought in 66. Emirates Airlines, which would normally bring in 380, brought in 174. Today, as at this morning, the figures from especially Kenya Airways and Emirates, which come quite early, and South Africa Airlines, more reduced numbers. Kenya Airways, for example, brought in only 26 passengers. Emirates brought in 93. South Africa Airlines from Washington, which would normally come with about 300 passengers, brought in 36, and most of these are Ghanaians. Ethiopia Airlines brought in 128 as against 250, which is the average. The restrictions, the travel ban is not only being enforced for the airline, also at our land borders. We operate 45 land borders. The major will be in Aflao, Elubu, and Paga, and then other minor posts. The ban is also being strictly enforced there. Yesterday, Aflao refused entry to a Nigerian who was traveling in the country from Nigeria. But our checks, the checks we do as your travel movement prior to your appearance at the border, the 14 days, it was shown that he had traveled from Korea 4 days early to Nigeria and was coming in. So we applied. Even though he was coming from Nigeria, we knew that he had come from Korea, which is in excess of the 200. Today, 3 foreigners have been refused entry at the Aflao airport. 1 German, yes, Aflao border post. 1 German, 2 Australians. Lome operates a virtually visa-free visa regime with many countries. So a lot of nationals can come through there easily. So that is why Aflao and the other entry points, Akanu Esra, are tight on controls. So the German and 2 Australians, who also fall within the 200 cases recorded in their countries, were also refused entry. Today there was an incident on South Africa. We don't know the status yet. A Ghanaian female who complained of dizziness on arrival was referred to the health authorities. We could not be sure of what it was, so we had to take that action. The 2 passengers who sat with her were also referred to the health authorities and isolated and are still going observation. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the travel ban as at yesterday is in force 1 p.m. and we are enforcing it very strictly. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure we would invite you to help us answer further questions as they come up. Colleagues, these travel restrictions have become necessary, as I'm sure you are aware, because our first 7 cases have been proven to be imported cases. And that is why these restrictions have been imposed. It's not because generally we don't like people coming within our borders. We are generally an open country, but under the current circumstances, we've had to impose these restrictions to protect the population. Now, let me give you a quick update on the passing of the new legislation and the executive instrument, but maybe before. As part of the President's address to the nation on Sunday night, he instructed the local government ministry to put in place measures to ensure that at the local level, the necessary precautions were being taken in a number of places, including our markets. The Honorable Haji Halima Mama is here with us. Let me kindly invite her to join us and give us an update of how these regulations are being applied on the ground. And then later the Transport Minister would also tell us what's happening in the transport space. For those who are having to go into self-quarantine, I think from this evening onwards, hard copies of the self-quarantine guides also to be distributed to them if they are cleared by immigration to go into self-quarantine. We'll do share copies with you so that you can also, for the purposes of edifying the general public, bring them up to speed. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Ministers, Health Sector, Immigration, Media, all present here. Good afternoon. Yeah. Following the President's announcement on measures taken by his government to contain and prevent the spread of COVID-19, the Ministry of Local Government, as you are aware, was directed to coordinate the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to enhance the conditions of hygiene in markets across the country. And following this announcement, the ministry issued directive to all coordinating councils and MMDAs to put measures in place to prevent the community spread. And the ministry directed the following. Regional ministers, in collaboration with the Regional Health Service Department, were requested to, as a matter of urgency, set up and chair the public health emergency committees. MMDCs were also directed to chair these committees in their respective jurisdiction, and where the committees were not in place, to ensure that they were set up accordingly. The PHAC is to operationalize, monitor the implementation of the directives within of their jurisdiction, and also, for our purpose, focus on marketplaces, lorry parks, and other public places to prevent the spread. Members of the PHAC include the MMDCE as chairperson, the District Security Committee members, Directors of Health, Education, Information Service, NADMO Coordinator, Environmental Health, Community Water Sanitation, and the National Ambulance Service with District Coordinating Director as the Secretary. And they are supposed to collaborate with the following in the respective districts. That's the health management teams, the district health management teams, the National Commission on Civic Education, Department of Social Welfare and Community Development, traditional authorities, faith-based organizations, transport unions, market associations, District Environmental Protection Agency, assembly members, and all other relevant stakeholders. They were all directed to set up public sensitization teams under the overall guidance of the Public Emergency Committee to undertake public education on COVID-19 in all places public places within their jurisdictions, especially marketplaces, lorry parks, using their mobile vans, gongs, and any other means available to improve their information outreach. And the focus was on improving high standards through regular cleanup and cleansing. These teams, we said, should be led by the Information Service Department staff, and the team should include the Environmental Health Officers, Health Directorate staff, staff of Department of Social Welfare and Community Development, NADMO, and Youth Employment Agencies. We also requested MMDC to negotiate for free time on FM stations in their respective districts to broadcast messaging and also educate the public on the preventive measures. So I will entreat you to also spread this message for FM stations to provide some time for this messaging. MMDAs too should force bylaws on food safety, environmental sanitation, hygiene, and also on entertainment and other outdoor activities. They are to ensure the availability of hand washing facilities with running water and hand sanitizers, advantage points in the markets and all other public places. All regional coordinating councils were encouraged to coordinate and ensure compliance with the directives and to submit bi-weekly reports on the implementation status. Following these directives, I received reports every day from the MMDAs, and that's at 2 o'clock today. I'm just giving a summary of some of the things they've done. They established the Public Health Emergency Committees, and they have set public sensitization teams under the overall guidance of Public Health Emergency Committees. They have undertaken stakeholder engagements, and they have commenced the public sensitization and education on preventive measures and good hygiene practices to curtail community spread of the COVID-19. MDAs have commenced the distribution of flyers and posters as well as playing of jingles in local languages on local FM stations to help in the education and sensitization of the public on the virus. Some MMDAs have their own information centers. They are using that to channel the messages. If you go to Medina Market right now, you see that they are using their information service and all the messages coming out on this. They have also taken members of the various committees through the various, with the support of the health director, through the various practices, proper hand washing techniques and procedures, so that its members will also further educate and sensitize people in the market, lorry parks, and other public places in their respective assemblies. Assemblies such as Agotome, Ziope, Ketu North in the Volta region, Achiasi in the Eastern region, BI West in the Western North region, Y East in the Western region, have in collaboration with their respective health directors increased the number and presence of health staff at vantage points. They know where is critical, so they have done some kind of relocation to have the presence of staff at the critical points. And in some places, like in Secondary Takoradi Metropolitan, they have decongested their offices to help contain and manage the spread. They've also acquired and supplied and installed Veronica buckets, hand washings, sanitizers, nose masks, and other protective gears at vantage points in the markets, and in some cases, the lorry parks and other public areas in their jurisdiction. MMDAs have also acquired gun thermometers and located them at public places, including their own offices, to take people's temperatures as they enter the premises. Hopefully, when they suspect a case, they will report. Some assembly members have also commenced monitoring and enforcement of directives that were provided at the industries, hotels, supermarkets, nightclubs, and private health facilities with the support of security agencies to ensure that these organizations comply with the various directives. They've also communicated with traditional authorities and various religious entities to ensure that they comply with the directives, and they've set up task forces to monitor some of these activities. Assemblies are monitoring and enforcing the suspension of all public gatherings, especially funerals, religious services, festivals, political rallies, and so on in their jurisdictions. The ministry itself is also taking some precautionary measures, and if you visit the ministry, we are restricting visits now, and we've also set up our gun thermometers to check temperatures, and we've also made available hand sanitizers at vantage points in the office premises. And the ministry has also visited some assemblies markets, especially within the Greater Accra area, to ascertain the level of compliance with the directives. And we've also decongested our offices and encouraging the district assembly to do so. Some of them have set up tents in their compounds to enforce social distancing. And the ministry is monitoring the situation, and we are receiving reports. Every day we are getting reports on updates. We've set up a platform with all MMDAs, and every day they are sending us pictures with a whole lot. We've put the Minister for Information on the platform so that he will see what they are doing, sending pictures, doing everything. So we'll keep monitoring, and we'll continue to update you on compliance to the directives and measures put in place to prevent community spread of COVID-19, inshallah. Thank you.
Hajia, thank you for the update. One of the significant areas where a lot of Ghanaians usually are clustered is on our transport platforms, buses, trotros, transport terminals. The President instructed the Minister for Transport to commence some steps to ensure that we could extend the measures that are being taken to our transport system. The Honorable Kweku Ofori-Asiam is here. I want to invite him to give us a quick update. Honorable, for you are required to use a sanitizer before.
I know. I appreciate the directive. I think the media is capturing it. The transport minister used a sanitizer before. Yes, thank you very much. The Minister for Local Government, Head of Department, Media, thank you, and you are welcome. Good evening. And like the Minister for Information rightly said, following directives from His Excellency, the Minister of Transport was directed to coordinate activities with the transport operators to make sure that the COVID-19 will combat or will reduce the spread of this disease through our bus terminals, like the Minister said, public transport system in this country. We all know what it is. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. So we need to carry out the instruction from the health, because this is health issue, it is not a transport matter. So though the transport operators themselves had already started implementing some of these directives on their bus terminal, we thought it wise that we needed to meet them and come out to common structure, because many a time, if you are implementing government policy or that way, I think it is better that we get a buy-in of the people involved. So that's exactly what we. So yesterday, we met transport operators And like I said, we all came to the conclusion that this is a health issue, and one, we need to adopt the Ministry of Health Directive of continual washing of hands of various bus terminals. Special operators or the transport operators need to provide adequate running water with soap. And how do you call it? Bucket. He said Veronica bucket. They have to put water in it to make sure that with soap for them to wash their hands. Provide sanitizers at their loading terminals for use by the drivers and passengers. Correct information on passengers boarding buses at various lorry terminals. This one will enable us to trace, but if there's a need for us to do some tracing, it will be simpler for us to do that. Provide sanitizers in their vehicles and ensure they are used by the drivers and passengers. Open the windows of air-conditioned buses to allow for natural air circulation at all times. Wash the external and internal part of their vehicle thoroughly with soap, detergent before loading. Spray inside the vehicle with Ministry of Health approved spraying materials before and after every journey. Avoid overloading, standing passengers, and as much as possible, try and see if we can maintain the social distance measures that are put in place. I think we all know it's difficult, but we try as much as possible to see how we can achieve that directive. The public address system at their loading terminals to constantly inform and educate their drivers and passengers on conducting infection preventive measures issued by the Ministry of Health. And here, the transport operators themselves had requested that we need to help them secure or provide them with more messages on pen drive so that if them playing music in their cars, from now going, they are going to play these messages in their buses, vehicle, whatever machine they are using, to send home the message to the people. I'm appealing to the passengers that maybe from today going, when you sit in buses from here to Kumasi or Akimoda, Kovia Zaradako, you tell your people that they will not be listening to music or watching films, but they will be hearing messages by prominent Ghanaian people, or the Ministry for Information is providing us with that message. And we'll be sending them to all transport operators. They'll be sharing to their drivers and they'll be playing it in the buses, vehicles throughout. All commercial vehicles are advised to load designated bus terminals. And we also entreated that please, as much as possible, instead of you to stand by the roadside and board vehicle or buses, please go to bus terminals and board a bus from there. If you go there, you get water to wash your hands, you have sanitizer, your information will be taken. In case there's an emergency, we can easily trace you and follow up, and if it is that we need to do something, then we can do it for you. Numbers was also provided for them. The commercial operators, transport operators themselves came out with a directive, and I think they are going to enforce it with support from the ministry, that henceforth, any driver who fails to carry out these instructions will not be allowed to load at the bus terminals. These measures, ladies and gentlemen, remain until otherwise advised, and we came up with a strategy that we are going to review this policy or directive every 2 days. If it is that we meet tomorrow, I think that it's important that we need to meet every day or day-by-day basis. We will do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, maybe on Friday, the ministry themselves will try to donate some few items to the transport operators just to support them for the good work that they are doing. And to let you know what we are doing. And continuously, we are going to review it. If we review it and we think that we need to scale it up, we will do it. For the meantime, that is where we are. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Minister, thank you for that update on the transport sector. Colleagues, just 2 quick updates and then I'll give you some general notes from the government. The Minister responsible for education, the Honorable Matthew Poku Prempeh, has also been working through the GES and other organs to get the educational system in collaboration with the Minister for Communications, working with them to get the educational system to fully respond to the President's directives on ensuring that schools are shut down except for writing examinations and distance learning platforms are made available. Hope on Sunday, at our Sunday brief, he will join us to give an update on where they have reached. The Honorable Health Minister was to join us today, but currently he's been summoned back to the Jubilee. He's joining the President to meet captains of industry as we speak to you right here, right now. Earlier this week, the President met the pharmaceutical group, those who produce hand sanitizers and medicines, etc., on how they can produce local items to support the fight. But it has become necessary to broaden that bracket a little bit. And so as I speak to you now, the Minister for Trade, Minister for Health, Excellency the President, and captains of industry are in that meeting at the Jubilee House as part of the COVID-19 response and other related matters. Now, the permanent mission of the People's Republic of China to the United Nations has also been engaging the world through the UN and sharing lessons from China on how they conquered it. One of the key lessons is early detection, which is what we've put in a system to do here in Ghana, early reporting, which is again what we've done in Ghana, including online platforms for everybody to be aware of, early isolation, as you know, even the first cases being treated in isolation, and then those who've been contact traced being put in self-isolation while the monitoring goes on, as well as persons coming within the jurisdiction who will not be mandatorily quarantined by the state being supported to do self-quarantine. The other very important part of what the Chinese government is sharing with the world is mobilizing the general public. Mobilizing the general public. And that is why we are pleased that you are all assist us to mobilize the general public, because awareness is one of the most important tools to fight this. The government of Ghana expresses its appreciation to all at the age, in particular faith-based groups and their leadership, frontline health workers, the media, and other groups for the compliance so far exhibited and the support in public education. In particular, we thank the Ghana Charismatic Bishops, the Christian Council of Ghana, the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, the Pentecostal churches, the Orthodox churches, the Office of the National Imam, and the entire Muslim community for their observation of these restrictions that have been introduced. We also thank the Ghana Journalists Association, President Afomoni and team, and journalists across the country for your support. With the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, particularly for the programming support that you are giving across the country, for all the programs that you are doing to help us mobilize the general public to be aware and to respond accordingly. We, however, encourage adherence to Ghana Health Service communication materials to avoid any scenarios of people sharing reliable information, particularly from the internet. Please use the Ghana Health Service materials when you are communicating or educating the public. We also thank the medical groups, the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the Pharmaceutical Society and producers of pharmaceutical products for the resource persons that they are providing in helping this exercise. Now, here's a very important point that I would like to make. Please pay attention to it. The health experts tell us that the next 2 weeks are critical, determining whether or not we will get significant community spread. They tell us that the general theory of pandemic management is that often it is likely that the numbers go up a bit before the curve or the situation gets better. Therefore, they are bracing for the possibility of some limited recordings of more cases in the medium term, but they continue to assure us that the systems they are putting together and continuing to ramp up are such that we are able, hopefully, to contain it and ensure that we hold this virus in check. I think if you follow some of the graphs that have been shared by the WHO, usually it's a bell-shaped shape. It's a bell-shaped curve. And the challenge really is how quickly you can arrest it. And so the systems they are putting in place are not to say that they don't expect to see any more. That's our hope, that's our wish. But the work they are doing is to ensure that should we even have any, they can hopefully very quickly arrest it. And that's an important bit of information to put out there. We continue to remind all stakeholders to repeat the messages on preventive ethics. We continue to admonish service providers not to profiteer with their goods and services at this time. We continue to remind the average Ghanaian that we should be each other's keeper now more than ever. Now, final matter on legislation before Parliament. With the leave of the Speaker of Parliament, hopefully today, due piece of legislation required to support some of these measures should be laid before Parliament. As at the time I was leaving Parliament, Parliament was on a quick break, resume I think around 4 o'clock, and our expectation is that it will be laid by the Honorable Attorney General before Parliament, hopefully today. Now, it will seek to give powers to restrict the freedoms under Article 21, which by the Constitution, according to Clause 4, Subclause 1, C, D, and E, can be restricted by law. And so for those of you who have correspondents in Parliament, I'm sure they will follow and share the details, the actual text, but that is headed there. We're also expecting that the executive instrument, as has been drafted now, will be gazetted as soon as possible. Colleagues, these are the details of the briefs that we have for COVID-19. If you have questions, it's a good time to take your questions now. And I'll invite the various officers here to assist me to respond to your questions as best as we can. As best as we can. Can we have the microphone stand here? Yes, with it. We encourage you not to touch our microphone when you're asking your question. So if you have a question, please show by hand. I'll invite you to the microphone. Yes, sir. Ernest, please come forward. Yes, sir. Come forward. I'll take 2 at a go, and then I'll take 2 more. So Ernest and the gentleman here. Please tell us your name, which media house you are coming from, and let's hear your question.
Thank you. My name is Ernest from Journeys. My first question on the money provided by the President. On Sunday when we heard the President, he said $100 million, the CA equivalent, has been made available by the Finance Minister to help deals. Yesterday when he appeared before Parliament, he was silent on the matter until the minority leader asked a question, a specific question on it. His deputy, Mr. Bwine, then mentioned that they're applying for some of the monies from the World Bank and also the IMF. We want to know if the $100 million is available and how much of it has been expended. Secondly, on the issue of the case recorded at Obuasi, do we know how many of his colleagues, is that information that can be shared, were affected, and how many have been in quarantine? And on the issue of quarantine, we got reports from what we suspect is the victim of the 7th case, was updated on the website yesterday, that he actually volunteered to be tested. He had returned from France. He was showing symptoms, went to the Rage Hospital to be tested. He was then asked to go home because the results would be communicated to him. Now, we are getting information from people very close to him that he actually heard the news on the radio. He thought that could be him. He made his checks and he's right. His problem is that between the period of testing and being asked to go home, anything could have happened. So, I mean, can the Ghana Health Service confirm this? And what is the protocol? If you, for instance, submit yourself for the testing process, and if you have to do self-isolation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Kojo Ajman. I work with City News. My concern will be the ongoing registration of the national identification cards, Ghana cards. People are crowded at places and they are still registering. I believe in the wake of the virus, the government will should direct the NIA to hold on with the registration. And then secondly, in the wake of allaying fears of Ghanaians, I believe they tell us positive cases those 7 who were tested positive, how many of them are recovering and how many are still being monitored? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take another 2. Yes, Echo, please move forward. And then I'll come to you. Is there another hand? And gentleman at the back there before we take responses.
What you met us that you told us that the ISD was going to dispatch some mobile vans to educate the masses of the people of the country. We don't know how, because if you listen to people, what they said, oh, as we Ghana, we are a Christian country, so the disease cannot come out here. It means people are very ignorant. So what the level of education that has gone down?
How far have we gone with our education?
Exactly. The second question, can the government decree or maybe make a law that every vantage point in the country, there should be a house sanitizer, a washing place of politics, so that people may wash up? Because I went to some places today, a bank, I'm not mentioning it.
And people were not complying.
Is that not that there was no, whatever it is? And then my third question, Honourable Minister, should be an escalation. What package would the government give the people of Ghana?
What package would the government give the people of Ghana? Thank you, sir. Echo.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Echo. Honourable, quickly, what steps are you taking to help some religious, I don't use the word fanatics, but people who want to make so much religious actions out of it? There was a video that I thought was a joke. Somebody says an anointing oil that could cure this virus. If we are arresting people who are still gathering in defiance of the law, do said people also fall within such thing, because they propagate it worse? Now, my second issue has to do with a comment you passed. You said that your medicals are saying that it can limited get worse before it gets better, or can I have a better plan?
I can repeat the text for you.
I'll be happy, please.
Oh, but you can play back because it's there.
I want to take that.
I hear you. Let me.
And then for the immigration,
Yeah.
all the 23 Chinese I saw, were they all refused disembarkation, or some actually did?
They were all refused disembarkation. Yes. Okay, so they embarked, but they were refused into Ghana.
What does it mean? So are they gone back?
Yes, they are gone back. Let's quickly respond because there are many other questions. What part will be given to Ghanaians should we have an escalation? All of these matters are fluid as they move. The president has been chairing the meetings of the Interministerial Committee on COVID-19 response, and the various scenarios are being drawn up. I think yesterday there was a scenario in terms of food supply and security that was being examined, etc. The various scenarios are continuously examined with various propositions on the table, and as the president has said, it's all subject to review as time goes along. So I think what we want to do now is to focus on what we are doing now and allow those who are doing various scenario plannings to do so, should it become necessary that any of those are activated to change the current instructions that have been given. I'm sure we'll all be informed. Can we enact laws to compel people to provide some of these preventive things? Hopefully the law is hopefully before Parliament by now. It's a good time for us to our members of Parliament and encourage them, whatever amendments which will be made will be a good time to do. It's Honorable Pius here in the auditorium or outside. He can best respond to the ISD campaign question. He's in charge of all of that. I have answers, but I'd really like him to speak up to that one. In terms of the status of the 7 persons, I think Dr. Medusa Akode mentioned that they are stable and are responding to treatment. All 7, stable and responding to treatment. I think so. The NA registration, you have given us a suggestion that you believe it should be treated in a particular way. We hear you. Your suggestion is noted. Now, there is a claim that the 7th case was not contacted directly, and somebody says he believes it was him and later confirmed to be him. We'll take it under advisement and ask our colleagues to do a quick validation if that claim indeed is true. In Obuasi, how many have been asked to self-isolate? I don't know those in handling contact tracing are able to give us an answer. About 30 persons in Obuasi have been asked to self-isolate. The $100 million CD equivalent. The Honorable Minister for Finance will provide some further and better particulars on his answers to Parliament yesterday. I think for us the big subject we are excited and interested in is the fact that as we run an executive presidency, His Excellency the President has instructed that $100 million CD equivalent be made available for all of these efforts. It is well within the capabilities of the Minister responsible for finance to tap into various sources, avail them. But the work has already started, and I'm sure those invoices will be submitted to Treasury in due course. Religious groups that may be defying, you've noticed that the police has started enforcing some, but specifically those who are making claims that we think will be harmful to the public health concerns. We are working with, through the Minister for Religious Affairs to quickly do some deeper engagement with them to try and bring some of those stop so that we don't need to clamp down forcefully on those. Honorable Pius, there's a quick question about the ISD campaign and the work that you have done there so far and how far it's going. If you can join us with ISD Director quickly to give us an update.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The ISD has begun serious preparations towards the national campaign. Yesterday, there was a trainers for all regional directors of all the 6 regions. They are going to start their decentralized regional trainings by Friday. We expect that by Monday they should have been deployed. We are working with the Honorable Minister for Local Government to also assist with some of the logistics of some of the decentralized agencies and other agencies, such as the decentralized agency of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Education Ministry, and all of those to pull in logistics such as vehicles in those areas that some of our logistics are not in the best of shapes right now. But we are very much on top of the campaign. The materials, the contents have been developed with the Ghana Health Service. It has gone through the process of verification. Several thousands, hundreds of thousands of copies of educational materials have been printed and delivered. We have taken custody of those materials. They have been dispatched into the regions, and from Monday should be available to for distribution.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Reko is the Director of the Information Services Department. He's Honorable Pius Hajide on the public education campaign. Let's take a second batch of questions. I have 1, 2. I'll take you first. Star FM 3, 4. I'll take you 5, and then 6. Chief, I thought you had a bite earlier, but don't worry. Let me take these 6 and then I'll come back. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Nyako Perez, Akokraba Kasapa FM. Honorable, for the purpose of my listeners, I would like to speak
Please
to
feel
you.
free. Please feel free.
The Bakwaya na yebo efa coronavirus one say yembo MP so say the be ya manfo intimi enyebi. Na ene uti na mpo no ukopie mu ewo nduafia ye prisons awodo ohwensa on prisons here. Nipa wo hono mo 3,500. Chese mo aboa piece yie pa. Eje ben na ban no edi gu akwan mu say the be ya betimi aboa amamo amwo na duafia na sempo no prisons no omo nkonya yede kopa se obi enya bia enko affect omo enyina yase.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Godra Temensa from Ghana News Agency. Yeah, per the advice you have heard from health experts, we should take in more of vitamin C to strengthen our immune system. I've also heard people banding information around we should take in more alkaline and like avocado, dandelion, and all those things, lime, orange, all things can help strengthen our immune system.
What to eat at this time?
Yes, so if they can give
you
us
like a
advice
comment on that? Okay.
Yeah, and then 2, the transport minister talked about transport collecting passengers' information before boarding vehicle. I want to find whether it's for short distance vehicles or for long distance vehicles. So currently, the truck drivers are not getting such information. So I want to find out whether it's for long distance buses or the short ones. Then regarding online taxis like Uber, Bolt, and all those things, they don't need you to go to a transport terminal to board it. You just make a request to get it. How are you cooperating with them to also comply with the directive? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next 2, as I pointed out, Star, and then yes, you. Kojoba, I thought you had a bite earlier. No, I answered the question, but I didn't like it. Well, if I heard you well, you said you believe that this is how it should be handled. And I said, we take it in good faith. We take your belief in good faith. Let's see how people. Could you? Yes, sir.
Okay, so Eric Mawena with Star FM. I think just take off from where he left off with the question regarding the NI, because we know that the president strongly advised in social gathering and asked for social distancing amongst other things. We know the Ghana Medical Association has issued a statement and they are advising, if possible, that the registration will continue. Looking at the directives that was given by the president, does government still think that the decision by the NI to go on with registration is the best, based on the directives that were given to the president? So I'll move on to my questions. The same persons who are being treated, we know they are responding to treatment. We know where exactly they are being treated, because we know they are designated areas, Tema and then the Ridge. Are those the areas these individuals are being treated? And I asked that because yesterday we spoke Dr. Fred Binka, Professor Fred Binka, and says that these centers that have been created, Tema and Ridge, there aren't enough beds. According to him, he says there were just 17 beds. He spoke to us yesterday, and so I just want that understanding as well. And
so I think really what you are looking for is whether or not we have enough beds or places to treat persons who have complications that require hospitalization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where these individuals are being treated, because these centers were designated for that purpose. Is it serving that purpose right now with these 7 persons? Another question, when you
very quickly,
addressed us earlier, you said health experts said we should expect more cases. We know yesterday in the United States alone.
No, I didn't say they said we should expect more cases. I said there's a general theory of pandemic management, which says that often the numbers go up a bit before it comes down.
And so there's a likelihood, I am inferring, not you.
I'm happy you say you are inferring. I'm happy you say you are inferring. Yeah.
There will be more cases. Yeah. We know yesterday in the United States, 1,000 more cases were added because there's been a room that's been expanded for testing. Are we considering that voluntary testing bit? Because there's a
change in testing protocols,
perception that if we test, we can't confirm. And so are we considering that? And there's rumors circulating.
I have to give other people an opportunity. Yes, sir. Okay. Please come. You've done about 4 questions already, so let me hear a few others. Yes, sir.
My name is Aprekon. I work with Africa TV. I'd like to speak to you.
Pacho Kachi.
The Kakabekan wana me share in prisons ahodwa mpena bebe na obi e kan se bebe na abo apeso so me kire se so obi ohona se ne bone no nche dan nye bone bia titru bia yentimi mfiri ma ohye congested kakra na and I feel so yem part office all those here online but to submit here omu se kokotu ni padom omu ko submit and so then now ye ya fa ho timi
okay
I hear say bibia betimi try you
okay let me take two more. If you give me a suggestion, I'll take your suggestion. But if you ask a question, we'll give you an answer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please. And then, madam, I had called you. Chief, I'm sorry I hadn't called you out. I called the lady there. Yes. Yes, sir. And then we'll respond to these ones and come to a final batch. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Honorable, good evening. The first question here, in Ghanaian Times paper, on the story by page 18, said there's alleged patient be or Tema.
Alleged
coronavirus patient. That's what they call Honor testing or Mukas one now or not yen for some time now. Or say Hoyeshin to one town or Koi. That's what the story said. Page 18 in Ra. Tinamebo page number uno. To be better me home from Ghana Health Service for if we are aware of this information free Ghanaian Times or banana. And I Ra too and persons with disability for Sweden Komokakra. No more say the Rubona Mose more born and as for now. Mama so empty no more no. Almost so I say information be Holma and Kavon. And so then I'm we are fast for no.
Madam, let's and then we'll respond. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Sandra Sudaonu, ATVGN TV, Channel 7 in the UK. My concern has to do with our public transport, intra-public transport, especially the trotros. Now the trotros are very unofficial gathering places, and it's usually seen in the way the trotros are maintained, the inside of the church was kept, even how the drivers, conductors, the drivers themselves dress and all of that. Are there any mechanisms whereby passengers can actually report some misconducts which may be observed on tours? GAPTI came up with a number of 55 that they are maintaining on the Ayalulu buses. How can you regulate the number of passengers on tours?
Okay. Thank you very much. Honorable Minister for Transport will join me. Is there a consideration to standardize the numbers on public transport vehicles? Would you consider that? Persons with disability, Information Ministry has say, inti yene wanuma develop communication materials no juma hwekwan betumi afa so yadane mu na aso womuso. There's a report about or somebody who attended a health facility and is alleged to have been a potential patient, and the place was too warm and left. It will be difficult to have any information on that at this point in time. We continue to generally tell the public that if you have conditions, please report to a health facility. A clinician will see you, take a sample, will be tested, and then whatever the outcome is, we will do well to engage with you and ensure that if indeed you are positive, you get the treatment you. The person has already provided basic data as part of the card formalities. Then it will be possible to trace that person and bring that person in for some assistance. Ghana Health Service, are you considering changing the testing protocols to allow for voluntary testing, etc.? Those are the two questions that I'll come to. There was a question about 7 treated. Exactly where are they? I'm not going to go into exactly where they are, but I think the real question that is being asked, which I think is a very valid question, is do you have enough beds, whether in one place or different places, to take care of hospitalized or severe considerations? Now here's a specific question about the National Identification Authority that the GMA has issued an advice. That advice we considered. There's also a question about whether or not it qualifies as a social gathering. That has been put out there. I think if you read clearly what was put out, social gatherings have been suspended. Other activities, including business and other activities, are allowed to continue, but with the social distancing of not more than 25 persons widespread that is operating. Our understanding is that that is what the NIA is doing currently, but it is good to receive this advice from the Ghana Medical Association. I'm sure as the President continues reviewing all of the methods that have been put in place, it's advice that will be considered. Transport Minister, you would please add to it how you're engaging with Uber and Yango, all of those. And then public health, are there any directives on what people should eat at this point in time? The final one I'll respond to is congestion in the prison. So yes, the Minister for the Interior, as part of the new instructions that the press gave, was asked to consider that suggestion as is coming up and submit a paper to the Interministerial Committee, or to Cabinet on Thursday for advice to be taken and a decision made on that accordingly. So Ghana Health Service, please join me and let's take your questions and then I'll transport.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We will take the issue of the persons with disability. I think that's already been answered. We are working group. Yeah, change in team protocol. The current protocol is that for those who are exhibiting symptoms or meet the case definition of suspected cases are tested. We may consider in due course whether we'll do some for high-risk groups. Also, those who are contacts with significant contacts among those cases are also tested. But we continue reviewing the process. Some countries are doing testing. Where we reach the stage where we think there's a certain group, this is more of surveillance testing, we'll start testing them. What do you eat? Well, I think the issue is how do you improve your immunity to be able to withstand the disease? We are saying rest, sleep enough, eat well, and avoid stress. And that is what will boost your immunity to be able to withstand the should you get one. Where are the people? I think there's something I want to respond to. That is the issue where there's a case of Tema General Hospital, and I think we must clarify that. Someone assumed that the case in Tema is at the treatment center. So when they went there and the patient was not there, they assumed that the patient has absconded. For mild conditions with adequate space at home, such cases are managed in their homes, and that's what is happening. So nobody has absconded. Thank you very much.
The question about you have enough beds for
Yes.
people who get hospitalized. Do you have beds?
Yes, we have enough beds. See, apart from the centers here, we have centers across the regions, the teaching hospitals, some regional hospitals. And this is not Ebola, where you have to discard everything that the person has used. So as long as you have a general isolated ward, they can be used to manage cases. So I don't think we have any challenge with that. Thank you.
Transport Minister, how are you engaging with the online transport organizations?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Someone asked that Uber drivers, how are we engaging them? I know that anyone who boss Uber, the Uber driver may have your information. In this country, 90% of public transport systems are being operated by the private sector. Only 10% are by government institutions. So in dealing with unregulated, let me use that word, system, it is going to be difficult in coming out with a bank and say that I'll be able to deal with all the issues. I think it would be very honest on my part to say that all the problems concerning the truck drivers and other things have been solved by meeting the transport operators only yesterday. What we are hoping to achieve is that after you've met them yesterday, we start ourselves to review the measures you put in place. That's why, if you heard me rightly, I said that when we met, we came out with a decision. We are implementing that. Once you load and you come back to a bus terminal, you must wash it. And we are going to have inspectors between National Road Safety, or now they have authority, they have inspectors, in collaboration with the transport operators themselves, to make sure that the hygienic condition or the hygienic instruction given to her by MOH are being followed. So we are going to review the system as we put in place, day in, day out. If it is that we need to escalate some of these measures, we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a final batch of questions and then we will wrap up. Ernest, I saw your hand already, so let me take some of those who haven't asked questions. Madam, you haven't asked a question, please come forward. Yes, sir. Please step forward. I think I stopped you. Are there any new persons who want to ask questions? No, if I'll go back to Ernest, to Star FM, and then to a call, and then wrap up for today. Yes, madam. Please wait and let these leave the podium and then you come in. Yes, madam.
What would they advise that in a situation where we cannot adhere to social distancing, what can we do to protect ourselves?
Any alternative to social distancing, particularly on transport, the health people? Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Honourable Minister. My name is Bismarck. My question goes to the Ghana Health Service. Can the poor and vulnerable in our society use application as hand sanitizer? If yes, how effective is it in combating the COVID-19? And then my second question goes to the local government minister. Honorable Minister, respectfully, is there any advice to parents while most students and kids are home now?
Thank you.
Advice to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Because the fact that the kids are home doesn't mean they can still be doing everything business as usual. Ernest, let's hear you.
Yes, I asked a question earlier about self-isolation. What do you do when you've been asked to self-isolate? And that's to the Ghana Health Service. Now to the
We'll give you copies of the guidelines.
Very well. To the Immigration Service, for those Ghanaians that have been allowed into the country despite the ban, how do we ensure that they actually self-quarantine when they are in finally? Yeah.
Okay.
And on the case of the seventh case which I talked about, the we understand that the person was picked up later today. Again, Ghana Health Service has not confirmed whether or not this is true. Thank you.
Okay. I think the answer I give is that we will refer to them for them to do an investigation and, come to us. Yes, sir.
Honorable, thank you very much for another opportunity. As this thing evolves, there's scope for what I may call an approved system of some measure of treatment that can help reduce that the viral load a person has. There's a school of thought that, this local sauna that we had, a case in point, my grandmother would just prepare some hot water, put some neem tree in it.
Is it true that local remedies work?
Exactly. If you have any recommended ones that could help reduce the viral load in the system.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, I'll give you the final question. Chief, you have a question, please come up. You are the last person.
Okay, well, a question to the immigration person and the Ghana Health Service. So, since the issuance of the travel advisory, have persons from the over 200 countries, any person, I'm asking this question because on our show this morning, the host Francis Aban, based on sources, got information that some persons from the Philippines, France, and the likes had been allowed into the country. Put this to Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, and they said they were going to cross-check, and so we just want that.
So you want to know whether any persons have done what?
From the over 200 countries that have been red flagged, if I can call it that, and are not supposed to enter the country. If anybody of such has entered the country, because I picked some signals that something like that has happened, and Dr. Benako said they were going to cross-check. Also, we know ACMA is making some donations to African countries in terms of testing kits and the like. Has government made any contact with him? Because we will need most of these items to help in the testing should the protocol testing change. And so have we made any contact? And then finally, on the bit of celebrities, there are rumors that government is considering getting some celebrities on board to propagate education on COVID-19. Is this the case, and do we need celebrities to do that?
Okay, let's take your question, sir.
Well, my name is George Mensah France, currently a freelance journalist. Let me start by commending His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for showing leadership in the midst of the global pandemic by not yielding to the pressure from Cortes to evacuate Ghanaians from China, and that the president stood his ground by making sure.
So what's your question?
So
what's your question?
That's my first question. And then secondly,
colleagues,
that's my
colleagues. You in the media always say we should respect the freedom of the media. Respect his freedom. We want to hear his question.
Yeah.
Question, please.
Okay. My question goes to the Honorable Minister for Transport. I want to know how hard his ministry go in dealing with those transport operators who flout the orders of the ministry, because it's known fact that there's too much indiscipline at the transport.
So how far will you go with Alcitran drivers?
Yeah, in dealing with them. But once again, let me commend the president.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we're running out of time. We want to give answers as quickly as possible. Do I have your attention, colleagues? Do I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen? Do I have your attention? We want to respond as quickly as possible. No, government doesn't intend to pay any celebrities to go out there and become ambassadors for COVID-19. We don't intend to pay any celebrities to go out there and become ambassadors for COVID-19. I think I mentioned in our meeting with the GGA, NMC, GIBA, etc., that we're also thinking of having persons with large following share our messages. And I think the expression I used, that we're thinking of having them as public education ambassadors or public education champions. I later saw online stories that we have said we are going to use celebrity ambassadors and suggestions that we're going to pay them some money. No, that is not happening. So thanks for the opportunity even to clarify that. The Office of the President has assigned somebody to engage the Jack Ma Foundation. I think yesterday was one of the key issues when it came to the logistics conversation. And I'm sure as we go by, if we have some more details, we will do well to provide those details to you. Have any persons that should not be allowed into the jurisdiction been allowed into the jurisdiction? Deputy Comptroller General, have any persons come to the jurisdiction? I think it's a yes or no question, very simply. Please come forward and then give us that detail. Any persons who should not come into the jurisdiction, Have any of them come into the jurisdiction?
Honorable Minister, the travel ban kicked in 1 p.m. yesterday. So any person who arrived from any such country before that time would be admitted. 9 Filipinos who were in transit, their seamen, joining their ship in Tema, under these circumstances were allowed in, under the law, were allowed in to join their ship. But we took the precaution of notifying our other sister intelligence agencies to monitor them in transit, that if there's any issue, they can be treated. Yes, and quarantined.
So it is
Yes.
important to clarify.
Yes.
Did they come generally into the Ghanaian jurisdiction, or they were held for a period and possibly escorted onto their ship, or what?
They were-
You should give us that detail so
Yes.
that there are no gaps. Yeah.
They were held and escorted. That is what we do for transit passengers in such groups. Yes. And again, the Ghana Health Service also are monitoring them in isolation.
So
We are working.
Are they currently in isolation, or they've taken onto their ships?
They are currently in isolation. Their ship arrives tomorrow.
Okay. So, again, just so we are not misquoted, I need you to be very clear with it. They were allowed into the jurisdiction. They
Yes.
are currently under quarantine.
Yes. Arrive before 1 p.m.
And then they are under quarantine. Their ship arrives when?
tomorrow.
And when it does, what will happen?
They'll be escorted aboard.
Colleagues, have you got that explanation clear? Yeah, so that we don't have a doubt. I think that'll be it, unless there's something else you want to add.
Yes, you wanted to be sure about what we are doing in the Ghana Health. We want to say that we are collaborating very closely with the Ghana Health Service. In fact, with the Ghanaians that come in, their records are taken and shared with the Ghana Health Service. Every contact person in our line, the officers who have handled them have been identified, and they are all being managed by the Ghana Health Service. Again, we are applying Section 8 of our law strictly, that any person who refuses to comply with the directive of the health officials at the entry points commits an offense. And the penalty is a fine, imprisonment, or both. And we're going to enforce that strictly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Deputy Comptroller General. I think we're coming to the end. Hajia, you want to help us with some advice to parents, especially now that children are at home? And then I'll go to Transport and to Health Service.
The children have been sent home to ensure that they are not within crowded situations. Parents, therefore, need to protect their children. They should keep them safe. They should not put them out there in crowded situations. For example, if you are a trader in the market, you should not send these children trade in the market because they are crowded places. So far, we have had good cooperation from the market women. The MMDs all report that when they go for their sensitization program, the market women even join them to also give us some messages in the local language. So they are very helpful, they are very cooperative. But I will also want to advise and to emphasize that the children have been sent home to ensure that they are not in crowded situations, they are kept healthy, and they are kind of protected at home. So parents should not expose them. And I'm just giving an example. They should not be sent out to be trading, carrying wares. They should not be sent to the market to sit and trade. They should protect the children. That's what government has done. We feel that in school, they are in crowded situations. They should be at home and be protected. And every parent, I believe, love their children. Protect your children. Keep them healthy and strong and get them back to school when schools are open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Transport Minister, is there any alternative to social distancing on trotros? And then at the same time, how far will you go with recalcitrant drivers?
Thank you very much. I think from the health expert point of view, once you clean your vehicles or your buses, you clean the seat with detergent and oil-based substance, and there's no direct contact, then we are reducing the issue of social contacting we are achieving the result that we are seeking to achieve. When it comes in terms of punishment for recalcitrant drivers, I think that I said it here, that we are dealing with transport operators. That's why we are asking that every trotro or bus should load from a bus terminal. And yesterday when we met, the decision was that anybody who does not go by the rules will not be allowed to load. Apart from that, there are laws in this country. And when we review the measures we put in place, and we need to escalate some of these things, we will do it. So for now, let's confine ourselves to the decision that we've taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My third question, Ghana Health Service. Does the appetition story work? How about the stories of local remedies like neem tree leaves with cloth over you and, inhaling? Maybe it's a new cure. Who knows?
Thank you very much. I'm sure with the traditional ones, whoever has it can share with us. You need to do some trial to ensure that it actually works. But for now, we don't have any one so far. For the alcohol rub, we need a minimum of 65 to 70% alcohol. And so apateshi is about 45%. For maximum, usually it's about 50%. So obviously apateshi cannot be a solution. So please, don't delude yourself that apateshi will help you. Thank you very much. It's not the one that you light. That one is not for sale. That one they don't sell. It's for, listen, that one is not the one. With apateshi, that is common to, available to all. It's maximum 45%, regularly about 40%, just like the gin. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, as we come down, or as we wind down our engagement this afternoon, this evening, two things I'd like to say. One was not asked as a question, but I need to address it. There are those who, even in these very trying times, take delight in fabricating stories and throwing them out there on social media. Sometimes for political purposes, sometimes for mere humor. We like to discourage that as much as possible. There are stories that are going around suggesting that the president and some ministers have tested positive. You have seen it on social media. It is not true. It is not true. We like to encourage that if you have access to a platform, use it to encourage compliance with the preventive etiquette so that we can save as many lives as possible. Wash your hands with soap under running water intermittently. If you have access to an alcohol-based hand sanitizer, please do to use that as well. If you have to cough and you have tissue around, use it and put it in an enclosed bin. And if for any reason you are having a high temperature, you are having a cough and you are sneezing, and you are observing any of the symptoms that we have spoken about, please do well to call the numbers that we have been putting out on the mass communication platforms. On Sunday, we will do well to invite you for an update on where we are. But every 6 hours, as we said, if there is any change to the case count, contact tracing, and case management, you'll find it on the website, ghanahealthservice.org/COVID-19/. Want to thank all our key stakeholders who've been with us here from the Ghana Health Service, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Local Government, from the Ghana Immigration Service, from the media, Registered Nurses Association, and even all those that I couldn't mention. We continue to encourage you to comply with the reporting protocols that we have all come to so that we can ensure that Ghanaians get the facts and the truth and are well protected. Thank you for being with us this evening.